Pull-up jumper. Got it! The freshman with a dagger.
Sponsored by Cool Beans on Lake Avenue.
103 drives in right side, lays it up good. Fire a bomb and drills. Money!
Rock Solid Sports, the only show with a home field advantage for UT Athletics. Here's tonight's host.
Welcome in, everyone, to the Monday night edition of Rock Solid Sports here on 90.3 The Rock. We are back, and it is back for the spring semester of the UTK school year. I'm Jack Foster. I'm your host. Along with me to my left is Joseph Bonanno. Across the glass, we got Gabriel, and our very generous sponsor, Cool Beans, our Monday night sponsor. We have my friend Tucker Harlan. Tucker, how are we doing over there at Cool Beans?
Yeah, Jack, it is great over here at Cool Beans. It looks like we got some hockey just about to start. Looking to my left, maybe a little bit of women's basketball. All kinds of arcade games here at Cool Beans. Just a great environment as always.
You know, it's weird. We're always talking about Monday Night Football when we're, doing these Monday shows and, the atmosphere leading up to MNF. Now, football season's almost over, Joseph. It's so sad. We only have 3 more games remaining, not counting the Pro Bowl, of course. It's not a game really anymore, but only 3 more NFL games remaining. But we'll get to that in a little bit. That's going to be our segment 2 talk. First, we got to talk about this Tennessee basketball team, Joseph, the 4th-ranked Tennessee basketball team. That news came out today. They are in the top 5. They're coming off a 2-game winning streak last week, both being on the road against Mississippi State and LSU, the most previous being LSU, a dominant 77-56 win down there in Baton Rouge. And before that, they went down to Stark Vegas and won by 11 points, 70-59, a horrific first half offensive performance, only 23 points. In fact, it was tied at halftime, 23-23, but Tennessee found their footing there in the second half, led by Zakai Ziegler and Julian Phillips. Julian Phillips having 13 second half points to go along with his 18 total points and 11 boards. Tucker, let's start it with you. I know you've been watching this Tennessee basketball team closely. Let's start with that Mississippi State performance. It was an ugly one, but Tennessee escaped with a win.
Yeah, man, I think everything just changed when they had to rewire the rim in that game. They had that lengthy delay. I think whatever Rick Barnes said in that time really resonated with the team because they seemed to pick it up there and went into the locker room tied at halftime, which, I mean, it's a miracle that that game was tied at halftime the way Tennessee was playing in the first half. But obviously, Zakai Ziegler, a lot of more pressure on him than what we're used to, but he settled down and he got in his groove, finished with 24 points that game. And I got to be honest, I don't know how Mississippi State managed to lose that game by 11 just based on what Tennessee was missing and all of the mistakes that Tennessee made over the course of that game.
Well, I think Mississippi State is legitimately, bottom-tier team in the league. So when you have an upper-tier team in the league, such as Tennessee, facing a bottom-tier team as Mississippi State, even though Tennessee was playing very, very bad basketball, they ended up finding a way. As you mentioned, Zakai Ziegler having those big threes there in the second half, going on to score 24 points. Let's talk about Zakai Ziegler a little bit, Joseph. Especially kind of a couple of weeks ago, you feel the sense that a lot of Tennessee fans are unhappy with the point guard play and that Zakai Ziegler is kind of a detriment in limiting Tennessee's potential, if you will. But, you really look across the board at the SEC, Zakai Ziegler is doing just fine. And just because he isn't a flashy point guard like Kennedy Chandler was, per se, it doesn't mean that he's bad.
Yeah, the Zakai Ziegler story at Tennessee has been interesting. Obviously, last year, he's the 6th man. He's that spark plug off the bench. And then this year, he's stated to be in the starting lineup, has some really bad games, according to Rick Barnes, gets benched, and he's okay with that. He even said, hey, I'm not a starter. I like coming off the bench. I like being that spark plug. But now he's in a situation where he has to start because you don't have any other point guards with Tyreek Key missing due to illness, with Santiago
specifically in that game,
missing with that shoulder injury. And who else is Rick Barnes going to turn to? He's got to turn to his second-year point guard because B.J. Edwards is on the bench. He's not going to get.
Yeah, and that's
he's not
another
going to get
thing.
lengthy minutes in these
There's-
games. You got Jemai Mashak. He's not going to be able to run the one
Right.
for an entire game. So who do you turn to? Well, you turn to your second year point guard and Zakai Ziegler, and then you also go turn to just Jordan James, who's not 100% yet, but he's getting there. And Zakai Ziegler playing that full 40 minutes in that game was just the biggest. I think that was the biggest testament to how he's grown from those first few weeks of the season. Because, like I said, out of control, playing worst basketball, I think, of his career at Tennessee. Those 40 minutes, even though, yeah, that first half was terrible, probably the worst game I've watched Zakai Ziegler play.
And just Tennessee as a whole on offense. It wasn't just
Yeah,
him.
it wasn't
They
just
were
him, but
all around
you know, as a point guard, and then turning around that second half, I've just been so impressed with him, just being able to keep that poise, and that spark plug about him, even though he has been thrusted in that starting lineup.
Yeah, you mentioned the 40 minutes. I think, it's just been a couple of years at least since a Tennessee basketball player played all 40. So that just shows how tough Zakai Ziegler is and how he's willing to stick it out. And as you said, 24 points, 40 minutes, tremendous performance from Zakai. And he was fine against LSU as well. But who really stole the show against LSU was Josiah Jordan James, a season high 22 points down there in Baton Rouge. And Josiah Jordan James has had a very, very interesting senior season. He had the knee soreness that kept him out plenty games, eking into the beginning of conference play. But it really feels like now he's starting to become, at least close to 100%. And him putting up big numbers like this and having great games like this on the road is indicative of that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things I think that this Tennessee team was missing. Even though how good they were, they seem to be missing that veteran, presence, that versatility from someone. You had a little bit from Julian Phillips, who, even though he's a freshman, was still able to play a lot of places.
Julian Phillips is just so good. The talent is just.
You had that a little
off.
bit with Olivier, switching back from the 4 and the 5, but you didn't really have that guy that could just go out there and take over a game defensively in terms of versatility. And Josiah Jordan James is that guy. I mean, he is so impressive on the defensive side of the ball. It just elevates this Tennessee team. And then his leadership. You hear when you talk about Josiah Jordan James is how much he talks on the court. He is constant communication with teammates and getting guys in the right positions and, calling out plays, pointing out things that maybe some other guys can't see because their back's turned. He's the ultimate, glue. He's the ultimate glue guy for a team. And for this Tennessee team, which is so deep, having a guy like Josiah Jordan James back has been so beneficial. And I think that's really going to help them down the stretch.
We talk about this Tennessee team, and the depth is something that is really helping out the Vols down the stretch here. We talked about a lot of players already. We haven't even gotten into the post players such as Jonas Seydu and Tobe Owaka, guys on the bench that can put together some really solid performances. But this is a great stat, guys. Tennessee has had at least one scholarship rotation player unavailable for 13 of its 19 games this season, and 5 Vols have combined to miss 15 games. Yet the Vols are still 16-3, 6-1 in SEC play, and in the conversation to earn a 1 seed when the March Madness tournament comes in a couple of months. So that is just really showing how deep this Tennessee team is and, the talent that Rick Barnes' team has.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that was kind of the thing that defined this Tennessee team before the season is their depth. How many guys they had that they could go out there, how many different lineups they could roll out there. And that's what Rick Barnes has been doing it. And yeah, the injuries have sucked. You haven't been able to put your best 5 guys out on the court at every single game or, all at once. But it doesn't matter because they're so deep, because they have someone who can step up. And I think one of the biggest names that have kind of filled that role is freshman Tobe Owaka. That he has been so good, rebounding, getting a shot up when he needs to, just playing defense, being that physical presence on the inside. And as a freshman, he is so far ahead of where everyone thought he was going to be. I don't even think we thought he was going to get significant playing time this year.
No.
And then all of a sudden, it was the game Euros. Was it the game that Euros goes down? Or
it was, well, in the Ole Miss game, Urish was not good. And Tobe had some significant minutes. That was the first time in conference play, of course, the first SEC game of the year. They really saw Tobe do well against big competition. But he was producing by like game 5.
Yeah.
So,
And well, that's what I'm saying.
And even against Maryland and New York, too.
So far ahead of schedule because like I said, at the beginning of the year, did you think Tobe Awaka was going to be getting significant post minutes?
No, I didn't. I figured Jonas and Erosh and Olivier would dominate it.
I mean,
Yeah.
Tucker, Gabriel, did you guys think that freshman Tobe Awaka was going to be one of the top freshmen on the Tennessee team?
Believe it or not, I actually thought that this guy would find his way into the rotation just because of what we saw with Zakai Ziegler last year. And it's just based on the history that this Tennessee team has had with New Yorkers in the past. Like, for some reason,
Rick Barnes
whenever
can
we get
recruit out
guys
of
from
New
New
York.
York, they end up being phenoms for this team. Like, we can go all the way back to Ernie and Bernie here. So, I mean, I didn't know what to expect from him, but just given the history there, I was thinking maybe there was a shot with this kid. And let me tell you, I really like the future ahead of him. I mean, he's not Oscar Shiveway yet, and I'm not saying that he'll
not
ever
even
develop
close.
into
Of course
that.
not. Yeah.
But he's built just like him, and he plays just like him. So maybe he can get there. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. And, you know, something I thought that was very interesting about the LSU win, of course, like I said, just start to finish, sheer dominance down there in Baton Rouge. But they played small. You know, with Urosh being out with an illness that has seemingly hit everyone in both basketball teams. It's crazy how many Tennessee basketball players, both female and male, have missed games recently due to illness. But Urosh Plavsic being out, he's on a heater. He's been playing really well. How does Tennessee feel that? They go small lineup. They go Ziegler at the one with Vescovy, Phillips, Kama, and Josiah, you know, as the wing players. So, you know, Tennessee can beat teams when they play big, when they're playing Kamala and Urosh, when they're starting those two, or they can beat teams when they're playing Phillips at the 4, or Phillips at the 4 and Kamala at the 5. So they're very versatile, is what I'm trying to say.
Which Tennessee lineup do you think is better, when they go small and fast, or when they go big and physical? And I know it depends on the matchup. But
it also depends on if they're going to have those scoring droughts, like they didn't against LSU, right?
Yeah.
So the small lineup worked wonders, because it doesn't. I'm not worried about Tennessee's defense when they go small because of how good Josiah is and Meshack when he plays, and Zakai, of course. And those guys are elite defenders. But if they go small and the shooting is cold, you know, it can be, you know, a Texas Tech game from last year, or a Colorado game from this year, something to that effect.
And when you're a team like Tennessee, with how their offense operates, is that shoot and go kind of offense. You're not really, you know, physical in the paint. You're trying to shoot from outside a lot. You're going to have those droughts. The thing about Tennessee is why they're different, why they're still in games. They haven't been blown out of a game yet. They've been in every game. All three of their losses, I mean, they've been in all. Oh, I guess not Colorado. Colorado might have been their biggest not in it game.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona was super close, and then the other two, you could argue that you knew it was going to happen, right?
And you look at Kentucky, I mean, they were still always in that game. They still always had that chance to be in there. And the reason that they can go on these scoring droughts and still be in games, that defense. I mean, it's literally the best defensive efficiency team in all of college basketball.
And of all the things Tennessee fans do on a year-round basis, you know, going to Twitter and complaining about this Tennessee basketball team, as much as it happens, is what's mind-boggling to me. Like I mentioned Zakai earlier, well, then you bash the offense saying, oh, going to be a second-round bounce again with the way this offense plays. But what about when Tennessee's defenses forces the opponents to have those scoring droughts? Those go unnoticed, right? So Julian Phillips, as you said, one of the best defenders in college basketball this year. Josiah Jordan-James, Zakai Ziegler, elite defenders. So we need to start paying attention more to this Tennessee defense, and the offense will come. And to me, it'll come when Santiago Vescovy and Josiah Jordan-James are at their healthiest when the SEC play is ending.
There was a graph I saw on Twitter this weekend talking about college basketball teams and you know, which teams are like really streaky and which teams are really good in terms of scoring droughts and then holding to opponents in scoring droughts. The only team who has more runs of 10, or it's called the kill shots. It was the kill shot graph. And so the only team that had more scoring droughts on off, or scoring runs of 10 or more points on offense, and the most scoring droughts about opponents, or like or I guess you'd say the least 10 plus runs from opponents, was Houston. That's the only other team other than Tennessee that had more of each, or more scoring runs of 10 plus, or less opponent runs of 10 plus.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And Houston, as we all know, number one was the
third
number
overall,
one team.
right?
They're bouncing in and out of that number one spot with Purdue, but
that's 2 top 4 teams.
Yeah.
In that metric,
Yeah.
right? Houston is 3, Tennessee is 4.
Yeah.
It's showing that metric is very significant in how teams are winning in college basketball. And by the way, side note, how about Tennessee going to Baton Rouge in football and winning by 27, and in basketball winning by 21? Baseball has got to bring it down there in Baton Rouge. If they sweep LSU, that will be a tremendous article to write about how Tennessee has gone down there and won in every single sport and not lost a game. But, we'll see what happens there. LSU baseball team full of units. But Tennessee basketball returning home, playing Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern against Georgia, who is starting to do pretty well, 14-6 in the standings.
13-6, I think.
13-6?
Yeah.
Conference, they're
3-3.
3-3. Okay, so a little resurgent Georgia program, bouncing back from a bad year last year with Mike White at the helm, and then they'll get Texas on Saturday. So, what's your confidence level? I'll flip it over to Tucker and Gabe. What's your confidence level in Tennessee being able to get these 2 wins this week?
I'm really confident in that Georgia game. Of course, I just don't see Georgia posing too much of a threat. Of course, they do have good players and they can compete, but especially Terry Roberts. He had a really good game earlier in the year. But I really like Tennessee's ability on defense. And Texas is that game I'm really looking at. You had the Chris Beard stuff earlier in the year, but
right,
not really focusing on that. Rick Barnes, coming back. You got so many great storylines, and it would be a great win for Tennessee. And, I think they get it done.
Yeah, especially after last year, that Texas lost last year, a game like I feel like they could have won. They were in it. It's just,
it came down to one shot.
It came down to that last shot.
Josiah's shot that flipped the season. Really, it's the turning point.
And so, I think this team, you still. Outside of Kennedy Chandler, a couple John Fulkerson, maybe a couple transfers, this Tennessee team was all there last year against Texas. Every single one of them.
It's better this year.
I'm saying, but the players, they felt that loss.
Yeah, gotcha.
They know that was the turning point in the season. And so I think this weekend is going to be very different than last year. That Texas team's still good without Chris Beard. I've been very impressed by them, their ability to just stay focused and play basketball and play really good basketball. But I think the Vols might be too much this weekend for them. And so I think it's going to be a good matchup, but I think I'm going to go Tennessee in that one. Tucker?
Yeah, their interim, Rodney Terry. He was there 7 years under Rick Barnes, so that's another thing you got there.
Yeah, very good point. Tucker, do you want to add?
Yeah, I do. I'm fairly confident in this Georgia game because Georgia's a team that's rebuilding right now. I know that Mike White has done a good job there, but I'm not ready to call them good just yet. They lost this weekend to Vanderbilt on their home court, which I'll get.
Vandy scrappy, come on now.
Bad. Yeah, they're all right.
Give them credit.
They're all right, but that's the thing is this Georgia team is still rebuilding. They got some growing pains they got to go through, and I think they'll be able to compete with Tennessee, but I don't think they're going to beat Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then for the Texas game, this is a tough one because obviously, like you guys are saying, not much loss for Tennessee, but on the other side, it's the same thing. They haven't lost much either. They might have had one dude into the transfer portal, but they've kept most of what they had, and that is one of the most talented rosters in all of college basketball, in my opinion. Just with all the depth they have, they've got guys that can come off the bench and really make a difference too. So it's going to be tough. I think Tennessee can do it, and I think that it's lingering with them a little bit with what happened last season out in Texas. So I think that Tennessee can come in there and do it, and they're going to have revenge on their minds.
Yeah, Texas, same record as Tennessee. They're a dang good team. I'm just going to go with the home team here. The home team won in this matchup last year. Like we're saying, not much has changed. I'm going to go with the home team this year. And college game day is coming for UT versus UT. It came twice in football. Tennessee won both of those games. So I assume that Tennessee will win when the spotlight is on and everybody's watching. Sold out TBA, ESPN, you know the deal. By the way, cool fun fact about college game day. Tennessee is the only school ever to host for football, women's basketball, and men's basketball, the college game day show. Because women's basketball has already hosted believe, once, and it will host Thursday against UConn.
Yeah, if you don't think that the aura around Tennessee athletics has changed, you're wrong, because it has. One, you're getting these big recruits in all sports. I mean, Manny Ramirez's son,
Yeah,
great
let's hope
Boston
he goes to college.
great Boston Red Sox player. His son, who's going to be probably just as good as his dad, commits to the Vols.
Okay.
Commits to the Vols. That's a big get for Tony
No,
Vitello.
it's huge. Yeah.
You look at football, you're getting transfer portal guys who were getting recruited by the biggest teams in the nation. You're getting recruits that are 5 stars.
How about the
4
number one
stars.
player?
The number one
on
player.
rankings? Yeah.
I mean, it's in basketball. I mean, you're constant in competition for these 4 or 5-star guys that are like known nationally. You're getting the national attention. Tennessee athletics has turned a point where they're good again. And I think that I think it's really incredible that it's all happening at the same time with kind of all the sports. Lady Vols have kind of taken a step back, but they're doing good right now in SEC play. They got a really big matchup coming up, so that could really define some things. But as a whole, it's all happening all at once. And I don't think you see this from a lot of programs around the country. I don't think you see where football's starting to do good, baseball's starting to do good, basketball's starting to do good. I mean, you have 4 or 3 top 5 programs in your men's major sports.
It'll be really interesting to totally prove your point. And that whole sentiment right there is when Tennessee basketball, I'm not going to say win. I'm not going to jinx anything. But if Tennessee basketball beats Alabama in TBA, they'll be number 1.
Yeah.
I really think. As long as they don't lose to Texas. They'll be 1 after that game, right?
Yeah.
Baseball was 1 for the entire season, basically. And football was 1 in the initial CFP ranking. So you will have 3 teams, the 3 biggest teams on campus, arguably, but that reach number 1 rankings in their respective seasons.
Yeah.
How many schools? I don't even know if that's
ever been done before.
I'm going to say ever. It definitely hasn't happened this year, to any school, and maybe not this century, but, it's pretty special what's going on here on Rocky Top. But we're going to take a break, our first break of the hour. When we come back from the break, a lot of going on in the NFL. As I mentioned at the top of the hour, only 3 games remaining. We'll react to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs up next on Rock Solid Sports.
The Rock thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the campus headquarters for food, brews, pool, shot starts, sports, and more fun. Tuesday night is team trivia night, and Thursday nights are for bingo. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page for more info.
Climb on up to old Rocky Top.
The Rock keeps the Big Orange Sports info on air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols basketball program. Coach Kelly Harper and the Lady Vols 2022-2023 home schedule includes games against UConn, Virginia Tech, SEC foes, and more. General public ticket info is at allvols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. WUTK says, Go Lady Vols.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
They're playing basketball.
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 8th season on the hardwood includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. General public ticket info for UT basketball is at allvols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says Go Vols basketball.
Volunteer Radio thanks our on-campus media partner, UTDailyBeacon.com, for their support. The Daily Beacon has served UT Knoxville as the official student editorially independent newspaper since 1906, featuring up-to-date campus and city news, sports and info on UT and Knoxville events, and the sign-up for the Beacon newsletter is on the website. The spring semester print issues of the Daily Beacon hit the streets Wednesdays at over 50 locations on campus, and stories are published daily at UTDailyBeacon.com. The Daily Beacon sponsors WUTK's UT News and Issues show, Rocky Top Roundup, Tuesday nights from 7 to 8 p.m.
The Rock receives support from The Hill, Fort Sanders' destination for wings, beer, and sports, including college basketball on the big screen and a pre- and post-game hang for Lady Vols and Vols basketball. The Hill is the home of Rock Solid Sports Friday broadcast from 6 to 7 p.m. Located on Forest Avenue, just blocks from the UT campus, The Hill is open 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. every day and has a large covered patio. TheHillKnox.com.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department. 2023 baseball fall season runs February into May. Games against SEC rivals Florida, Vandy, Kentucky, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Single game tickets go on sale February 1st at allvols.com. Students need a valid UT ID for entrance. Rock Solid Sports will have UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
The Rock thanks the Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2022-2023 home ice season from October through April includes games with SPHL rivals Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets are at KnoxvilleIceBears.com or 865-525-PUCK. Link up at WUTKRadio.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says go Ice Bears.
All right, everybody. Welcome back into the Monday night edition of Rock Solid Sports here on 90.3 The Rock. We've had some fun talking Tennessee hoops so far. We're going to transition into the NFL, but before we do that, got to get my guy Tucker on here to tell us how Cool Beans is going this great Monday night. Tucker, how's it going?
Yeah, man, Cool Beans is great right about now. We got a lot of people that have just come in here, and a lot of sports to watch on TV as well. We got Duke taking on Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, a very desperate team right now in basketball. And then on the other side, we've got Iowa taking on Ohio State. That's women's basketball. Iowa, of course, they've got Caitlin Clark, very phenomenal player, walking highlight reel for them. We got a little bit of hockey, some arcade games all around here. Great environment once again at Cool Beans.
As a reminder, Rock Solid Sports Monday Night Shows, of course, sponsored by Cool Beans, the 21 and up college sports pub next to campus at 1817 Lake Avenue, a block off the strip. Cool Beans has 25 rotating beer taps and bottles, HD TVs, darts, pool, and arcade games. Open every day at 11 a.m. with burgers, wings, and sandwiches for dine-in or takeout with Vol card accepted. More on Instagram at KnoxCoolBeans or at CoolBeansBar.com. And then there were three games, that is. There are 4 teams remaining in the NFL, and we will work in reverse chronological order because, to me, the last game of the divisional round of the NFL playoffs was the best. 49ers topping the Cowboys 19-12 in Santa Clara. A defensive battle. Both defenses came to play, but ultimately the Niners get it done. Dak Prescott, Cowboys quarterback, threw 2 picks. Niners defense came to play. Brock Purdy played clean. Wasn't his best stuff, but they got it done. Joseph, what's your take on this game and the Niners moving on?
Take on this game. Dak Prescott is not an elite quarterback in the NFL. I think I already knew this, but after that game against the Bucs, which, let's be honest, the Bucs have not been good, neither defensively or offensively. I think people were still giving the Bucs defense credit from last year when they actually, or the last 2 years when they were really good. They weren't really good this year. Dak lit the Bucs defense up. Okay, cool. Same way as it's the exact same way that Daniel Jones lit the Vikings defense up and then goes out there and lays an egg against Philadelphia. You play a good defense, you run into some trouble. Dak ran into some trouble, and he showed he's not an elite quarterback in the NFL. Now, outside of Dak, the defense for the Dallas Cowboys played pretty well. I mean, they kept them in that game. They were the reason that Dallas was in that game. And you have an average quarterback play from Dak, you probably win that game. But you don't. Dak does not play well.
Mm-hmm.
They lose.
I have one huge beef with your whole take.
What?
And it's not necessarily anything you said, but it's the fact that I asked you to react to that game, and you know what the first thing you said was?
Dak.
How the Cowboys were bad. You did not talk about how the Niners were good. You talked about how Dak, he sucks. Oh, the Cowboys, another game wasted. They're not as good as we thought they were. We got to start giving the Niners credit.
The 2 interceptions were not on Dak.
What? Okay, come on. They were terrible throws.
One of
he
them
should have had 3.
One of them was most
No,
definitely
They
on
both
Jack.
were most definitely.
The one at the sideline was most
The
definitely
first one was
Jack.
100%, and the second one should have been picked off by Jimmy Ward. It hit him in the numbers, bounced off his jersey into Fred Warner's hands, and the game.
Michael Gallup misran that route.
You talking about the second pick? Okay, and it was in double coverage, by the way. Warner was right behind him, and Ward was right in front of him. The window was tiny if he was going to make the play.
If you're defending Dak right now, I don't know what game you watched.
And by the way, there should have never been that last play because he should have thrown a pick six.
Okay.
On the second play of that last
Okay, you want to talk about how the 49ers are good? Yes, that defense is phenomenal. That defense is the best defense in the league. There's not a better defense in the league other than the 49ers. They are just the most complete defense, both your front seven, your secondary, they are complete. However, the fact that their offense wasn't, and I get that they were playing a really good defense in Dallas, but Dallas was in that game despite the fact that Dak played poorly. They had a chance. They had every chance to win that game. If it wasn't for a George Kittle circus catch over the middle at the 50-yard line where he juggled it up and then dove for it before almost getting his head taken off by Trayvon Diggs, I don't know if the Niners go down and score that touchdown, and I don't know how that game turns out, because at that point it would have been what? Dallas would have had the lead at that point.
Yeah, I think it was 9-9 when Kittle made that catch and they scored to go up 16-9.
So
but also the Cowboys got the field goal to make it 9-9 from a muffed punt.
True.
Or it wasn't muffed punt, it was forced fumble on a punt return.
Yeah.
So they're in, like I said, at the end, the Niners could have iced the game like that.
Don't get me wrong.
There were missed opportunities.
Don't get me wrong. The Niners are good. I think the Niners definitely deserve to be in the NFC Conference Championship. But that doesn't turn down the fact that Cowboys offense, Kellen Moore calling that game, what the hell was that last play? What the hell was that last play? Season on the line. For Ezekiel season on the line. You put Zeke at center with no other offensive linemen, and you put the rest of the guys out wide, and Zeke gets trucked. Dak throws it over the middle just for him to get trucked. What the hell was that play?
Dude, that was such a
Cowboys
ending, though, right? Wasn't it?
Right there.
I mean,
do what, Tucker?
You're rivaling that Colts Patriots play from back 8 years ago.
According to Pat McAfee, that Colts play was not supposed to be snapped. It was supposed to just try and jump get the Patriots to jump, and they snapped it
because it was supposed to happen.
It's worse because they intentionally went out there, even after all the evidence of that Colts play. They went out there and said, "Hey, this might be a good idea on the final play of our season."
Have you guys ever seen a play that is supposed to be a lateral play not involve a lateral ever?
There was no one to lateral to because Zeke got
smoked. No, it was Turpin. As soon as he caught it, got smoked. Yeah, the Zeke thing. Obviously, Dak had to get rid of the ball quickly, but, he never touched the ball. That thing, by the way, I had a late drive last night. I got home, and I laughed for far too long in my bed last night. I looked up Ezekiel Elliott last play and just looked at all the memes and everything, all the videos. It was so funny. Twitter's undefeated. My favorite one was like, "I'm Zeke Elliott, welcome to Jackass." Watch this. Watch what we can do.
See, the funny thing about it is, why was Zeke your center, man? Like, were you expecting the 49ers?
I don't know.
Were you just expecting the 49ers to not go and block him?
Yeah, this
because it's very clear that Zeke was going to be the first pitch. It was going to be throw over the middle, pitch back to Zeke,
right,
and then everybody just run from there.
Yeah, they had all their speed guys on the field. Yeah.
So the Niners did the smart thing, and the first thing they did, take out Zeke and then take out the ball. And play over. I mean,
right,
was that worse? Was this play worse than last year's QB sneak with no timeouts?
Yeah. Well,
the thing about the QB sneak, though, they had a chance. I mean,
exactly.
I feel like they almost didn't have any chance this time.
Exactly.
Right.
I don't feel we should spend too much breath on the last play because they weren't going to score.
It was awful.
After Schultz, to me, I mean, you could point to so many plays. By the way, that whole drive was inept because Dak is just staring at a dude coming at him in the end zone the first play. If the roughing the passer bullcrap calls don't exist, Eric Armstead ends his life right there. And then Schultz doesn't go forward when he's going out of bounds, so the clock keeps running. And then Schultz doesn't make sure to get his second foot down on the next play. It was just totally bad football. But like I said, we're focusing too much on the Cowboys. Really, this Niners team came to play. Again, Purdy, again, no turnovers. We'll see if that continues this weekend when they go play Philly.
Yeah, Brock Purdy has been the coolest story in the NFL so far this season. 7th round, Mr. Irrelevant.
Right.
You know, wasn't even supposed to see the field this year. Trey Lance goes down early. Jimmy G goes down midway. And then who comes in? Brock Purdy. And what does he do? He just balls. Just play some football, man. I mean, it's been so impressive. You know, no turnovers. I don't think he's had.
He's thrown a couple picks, but none in the playoffs.
Yeah, none in the playoffs so far. You know, that was actually the first game he has not thrown for 2 or more, or at least 2 touchdown passes.
Gotcha.
In all of his starts, and so he's undefeated. But credit to Kyle Shanahan, that scheme, you know, that front office building that team where you could just plug and play a Mr. Irrelevant. Come on now.
Right.
Brock Purdy isn't doing this on any other team.
No, it's incredible. And a lot of people say, well, look at the offense he has. Yeah, okay. He's got George Kittle, CMC, Debo Samuel, Ayuk, Elijah Mitchell. It's a who's who of studs, right? But he's making it happen.
Yeah.
He's hitting those slants. Those slants are hard to throw when it's a tight window and you got a defender coming down and a defender trailing the receiver. So he's making those throws, and he's pretty good on the run, if I might say. Like, he looks good throwing the ball on the run as well. So I've been impressed by Brock Purdy. I don't know if like I said this to you guys before we started the show, if the game against the Eagles, or if they make it to the Super Bowl, if that game comes down to, hey, Purdy's got to win it, I'm not confident. I'm not that confident, because I don't think he can put together an 80-yard scoring drive in a minute 30. You know, and the Niners don't play ball that way.
The key for
that to me is what works.
The key for the Niners in these next, at least in this next game and in the Super Bowl, is you score early. You use Christian McCaffrey, you use Debo, you use George Kittle, you score early. Then you ride that defense all the way until that clock hits double zeros. All the way. And I don't care. And don't turn the ball over, obviously. But that's something that Brock Purdy hasn't done. That's the key for the Niners. And you know what the funny thing is? That's what they've been doing all season. They've scored early. You know, they other than what the one game against Seattle at the end of the regular season where they put up like 40-something points or whatever. I don't know. They had one game where they actually scored like 40-something points. Their offense was like just clicking. I think it was against Seattle.
Well, they scored 41 in wild card round. And then against the Raiders, it was a shootout. They blew out the Cardinals in week 18.
It was the Cardinals. That's what it was. No, they had a game where
they scored 30 plus, I believe, all but like 2 or 3 times with 30 starters.
But that's the thing. They don't have to score that much. They really don't. So it really doesn't matter if that offense is clicking. If they could score 2, 3 times and get in a field position for a field goal or 2, I trust that defense enough for them to win.
And how about Robbie Gould? Still perfect in postseason in his career. That is stellar. He's 28 of 28 now, 27.
Yeah,
29.
very different from
high 20s, and he's perfect in the playoff.
Very different from the Cowboys.
Very, very different.
Why did the Bears ever get rid of him?
Yeah, that was a totally messy situation, wasn't it?
He was like begging to come back too,
right?
After like everything, and they still wouldn't bring him back or anything.
Well, hey, Gabriel, I'm going to start this with you. We're going to do a quick roundtable here and before we move on to Bengals Bills. The Niners are going to win it all. And you can say Brock Purdy, you can say a defensive player. Who is going to be the player that is going to be why the Niners win it all?
The player why the Niners are going to win it all is going to be Nick Bosa. I'll say that. If he has a big game against that Eagles O-line, I mean, that's just huge for him and what he can do. I mean, that's a really good O-line. You know, he's going to be going up against Lane Johnson or Jordan Mailata, wherever side he lines up. But if he has a dominant run these last 2 games, the Eagles will win the Super Bowl.
Or you mean the Niners?
Yeah.
Niners, sorry.
No, you're good. Tucker, who you got? Who's going to be the Niner that will be the reason they go all the way?
Oh, man, that's tough. There's just so many different ways you can point here. Just so many stars on this team. I'm going to have to go with George Kittle, actually. I just think that what he provides for this team, I mean, this dude's pretty much the second best tight end in the league behind Travis Kelce. And he's redefined what it's meant to be a tight end as well and what he can do for this team. So I really like George Kittle to help them win a Super Bowl.
Oh, man. See, I want to say a defensive player like Nick Bosa, like Greenlaw, like Warner, but that defense is so deep. I can't just pick one.
Right.
So I'm gonna go offense, and that's the Mr. Do It All. It's the guy that lines up in every position imaginable on that offense, and that is Deebo Samuel. He missed almost the last 5 games. Came back in week 18, played a little bit, and he's back in these playoffs. And he's looked really good in these playoff games, running the ball, catching the ball, getting open, run after catch, doing all the things Deebo does. If the Niners get to that Super Bowl, he's gonna be him and Kittle. I think are the 2 offensive weapons that Purdy's got to rely on. And obviously you have CMC back there, but I think Deebo just brings another level because you don't know what he's gonna do. He could line up in the backfield and then run a 50-yard go route. He could line up, outside and run the ball. You don't know what he's going to do. And so Debo's the guy, I think, the key to just hide all the rest of those pieces on that offense.
I totally agree with you. I mean, we saw it last year when they beat the Packers, and even in the first game against the Cowboys and keeping it close to the rim. Deebo was that guy. He was the biggest reason for their playoff run. And you know what's great about what the Niners have been able to do so far in the playoffs is they haven't really had to use him a lot. Like, he had the huge play against Seattle, which padded his stats tremendously. But, like, in the Cowboys game, he wasn't used a whole lot. And Debo's a guy who's fairly injury-prone, can get worn down as you go along because he plays bigger than what he is, running the football that much. So they haven't had to use him a lot. And I think it would be coming in this game against the Eagles. It's going to be a dogfight. I think George Kittle said in a post-game interview, it's going to be
cold.
Yeah, it's going to be cold. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be violent. That's what he said. He goes, and it's going to be a blast. I love that quote. And that is so true. And if it's going to be violent and the Niners are going to win, Deebo is the guy that's going to have to come through for the 49ers to reach the Super Bowl and ultimately win.
See, when you look at all these NFC teams, you know what I think? Just defense, defense, defense. These hard-nosed, hard-fought defensive games. And it's funny because the Eagles and the Niners both have really, really, really good offenses, but I still think that this game is just going to be defense. The defense that's better is going to win.
I mean, Cowboys and Niners were 2 top 10 offenses. Look what happened, 19-12. It's going to be the same thing this weekend, and we'll get into that as we go along as far as keys to that, and we'll got to move on to a new game here. But, let's go to the other Sunday game. Bengals defeating the Bills 27-10. This one was, basically over before it started. Bengals get out to a 14-0 lead. The Bills had only run 3 offensive plays by the time it was 14-0, just 1 3-and-out. And, man, Joe Burrow just came in dialed in the snow, and he just diced up the Bills' defense. Josh Allen and the Bills just couldn't get it going offensively, only 10 points. And props to Cincinnati's defense, too, man. They have come up big in playoff games before, and they did it yet again, holding one of the best players in the National Football League to a bad game. The Bills only 10 points.
If you think Josh Allen is a top 3 quarterback right now in this league, you're wrong. He's not. It's Mahomes 1, Burrow 2, and that has a chance to flip depending on the next few years. I don't think it's this game because Mahomes isn't at 100%, but in the next year or two, I think those two are going to be flip-flopping back and forth to the number 1 spot in terms of quarterback. But Allen just showed me that he is a regular season quarterback because in that Miami game, he didn't have a great game in Miami.
The only reason it was close because he was turning the ball over.
And he didn't have a good game against Cincinnati. And, you and I talked about this earlier today. What's the one thing that Josh Allen did all year in the regular season? When he got in trouble, what was the one thing he did? He found who?
Stephon Diggs.
Guess what he didn't do against the Bengals? He didn't find Stephon Diggs. 5 targets, 4 catches, like 35 yards, no touchdowns. Stephon Diggs was his go-to in every time they needed something big to happen, and Josh Allen couldn't hit Stephon Diggs. And Stephon Diggs was open. It's not like he was, getting locked up. Yeah, Eli Apple, that secondary for the Bengals, they were doing a good job. But there were plays where Stephon Diggs was open. Josh Allen just missed them. Bad. Didn't have a good game. He's a regular season quarterback. He's Aaron Rodgers without the Super Bowl.
Right. I want to talk about that Bengals defense because we talk about the NFC side and their their defenses, and you see that all the superstar talent over there on them. Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa. Maybe not as much for the Eagles, but it's just everyone on that team can play good defense with Bradbury being your quarterback too, and all of that. And Darius Slay's a superstar. I'll say that. But the way Cincinnati plays defense, it's like you look at these names and, Trey Hendrickson is really good and, he might be close to a superstar. But really, it's just solid all-around defense. I mean, your two boundary corners are Eli Apple and rookie Cam Taylor-Britt out of Nebraska. It's just, and you compare that to what the Bills defense did, who, we can talk about Josh Allen, and I do think, a lot of this loss is on him. But that Bills defense did not play well either. And it just amazes me what Lou Amaru can do with this Bengals roster.
No, it's like I said, it's back-to-back seasons, and they come up, in big moments too. Like you said, I mean, look at the Ravens game. That was a defensive battle.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is a Sam Hubbard 98-yard scoop and score.
Yeah, bad call on the Ravens on that part.
Right. We don't have to get into that.
I don't know why you do that.
But the defense made
the
the play.
defense made the play when it was opportune. But we can't overlook the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who has cold blood in his veins, and that is Mr. Joe Burr, Joe Ice, Joe Shiesty. Joe Burrow came out there. The camera angle when the Bengals first got the ball, the camera angle that you saw Joe Burrow when he first lined up, and he was just had this dead stare, this laser focus, just straight on that Bills defense. I think I kind of knew that game was over at that point, because then he came out doing all kinds of things, looking more like Mahomes than Mahomes did, manipulating the pocket, using his because he's not a fast runner. He's not a big fast guy. He's not going to run like Lamar, but he'll move around and he'll trick defenses. And he did exactly that to the Bills. He used that snow to his advantage. He got guys off balance. He got guys slipping around. I mean, look at that Jamar Chase touchdown that opened the scoring. Joe Burrow ran up in the pocket like he was about to run, and then right as he got the line of scrimmage, as soon as that linebacker bit who was covering the zone on Jamar came over in that open field right behind the linebacker. Linebacker bit up, and he just kind of floated it over the top. I mean, he uses that athleticism and that threat to run and that threat that, maybe he can do something with his legs to do that. That's exactly what made Mahomes so effective and so special in his career. Burrow was doing the exact same thing. Now, he got sidelined by that ACL and a really bad offensive line his rookie year. But you take out that rookie year.
It's back-to-back AFC championships.
Back-to-back AFC championships. And every single AFC championship has featured Mahomes or Burrow if you take out that rookie year.
Right. I mean, Mahomes has never not been to an AFC title as a starter. It's
it is insane what quarterback talent the AFC has.
Yes, it's very good. And we saw that this weekend. Joe Burrow outperforming Josh Allen. And you talk about that start, 9 of 9 for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns to come out and start against this.
How about that play to Hayden Hurst, the fake screen to Jamar, and then Hurst just kind of snuck out there?
There were so many good throws. I mean, to me, arguably the best Joe Burrow play was what should have been a completion, really, in my book, was an incompletion to Jamar Chase in the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
They originally called touchdown. That throw was incredible. And the catch was great, too. I mean, the announcers were like, oh, what a catch. And then they started looking at it like, dude, what a throw,
Yeah.
So Joe Burrow playing really good football. And with Mahomes coming into this Chiefs-Bengals AFC championship, definitely not 100%. I don't even know if he's going to be 70%. A high ankle sprain is a real deal and not an injury to be taken lightly.
Here's what I know about a high ankle sprain. Ryan Tannehill, Titans quarterback, played on a high ankle sprain for about 3 weeks this season. Couldn't move. Literally could not get out of the pocket at all.
I mean, Mahomes was hobbling all the game, yeah.
And you look at Mahomes, he was probably, he had adrenaline in him. He was getting shot up with steroids, trying to, not steroids, but, try to numb that pain down. Well, now he's had a couple days to walk on it. He's probably not putting any weight on it. He's going to have to try and go out there and play a game after all that pain has settled in. His ankle's probably swollen up pretty bad, too. I don't know how he's going to play this game because a high ankle sprain is like nothing to like.
Right, it's 4 to 6 weeks in the regular season,
and it is a very painful thing to walk on. And so if Mahomes can go, I'm going to be so surprised. He's going to go because he's Mahomes, and this is the AFC Championship. I just don't know how good he's going to be.
Right.
You know what? Let's see a Chad Henne game. I want to see it.
What's
see what Chad Henne can do for a
Hey,
full
what's
game.
his saying? He's got anything can happen?
Anything can happen.
Anything.
There you go.
I need a Henne versus Purdy
Super Bowl. Yes. What are you going to say, Tucker?
Battle of the weapons.
Yeah, I think Joseph brought up a very good point about the high ankle sprain because, if this Bengals defensive line can mess with him a little bit, like what we saw the Titans do to the Chiefs, a big part of what Mahomes does is improvising, and he can use his legs. I think Mahomes beat the Titans with his legs in that game.
Yeah.
So if they can force him to do that, it's going to be a very uncomfortable situation for the Chiefs because he will not be able to move on that
And,
thing.
and look, I get he has Travis Kelce. He doesn't have Tyreek to bail him out on a lot of stuff. He has Travis Kelce to do it, but Travis Kelce can only do so much, especially when Mahomes isn't 100%. Mahomes is 100%, you have Travis Kelce, anything's possible. But when you have a less than 100%, you said probably less than 70%, which I think is really realistic.
Yeah.
And Travis Kelce, I don't know how much. And he doesn't really have another standout weapon. Yeah, Juju, all right. Isaiah Pacheco, yeah, all right. McCole Hardman, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, all right. But he doesn't have that, that guy that can bail him out other than Travis Kelce. And we know what the Bengals game plan is going to be. Cover Travis Kelce.
Right. And, we talked about the Bengals defense. Well, I'll circle back around to that. The Jaguars defense is not the Bengals defense. I'm not going to say it's not close, but it's definitely not to the caliber Cincinnati's is. So if Mahomes isn't escaping the pocket, making all these Houdini plays and just finding the open guy 7-8 seconds after the ball is snapped, then it's going to be really tough for this Chiefs offense to put up points. And, as you mentioned, you kind of get the sense that watching the Chiefs this year, more so than any other year, and it's because Tyreek Hill isn't there, that the big plays happen because of Patrick Mahomes only, pretty much.
This year has proven how good Patrick Mahomes actually is.
But now, on one leg, he's relegated to just being a pocket passer. I don't know, man. With Joe Burrow playing this way, I'm taking the Bengals. I'm not even going to flinch about it. I know it's in Kansas City, and I would not be shocked if the Chiefs ended up winning. But, man, I know that what a high ankle sprain does to NFL players, and I'm just not confident in the Chiefs pulling this off.
If Mahomes was 100%, I think I'm taking the Chiefs in Kansas City. Revenge from last year. He hasn't beaten Burrow yet. It's his time. But he's not going to be able to move. And like Tucker said, his legs are the biggest part of his game. Being able to just manipulate the defenses with his threat of moving the pocket and being able to take off whenever. I'm going to go Bengals, and on the other side, I think I'm going to go Niners.
That's interesting. I'm very torn on that game. I'm not even confidently ready to make a pick. You talk about keys of the game for the Niners. It's obvious to me, you're going to be able to clog the middle, but if A.J. Brown torches you, which they've struggled against number one receivers, and Jalen Hurts can beat you with his legs, getting outside the tackles, it's going to be really tough for the Niners to win. I think if they can limit Jalen Hurts' rushing, they'll win, though. That's my take on it. So who you got in the Super Bowl, guys? Joseph's going Niners, Bengals, and Gabriel, who we got?
I'm going to go Bengals, Eagles. I agree with, if Mahomes is 100%, I'd probably be taking Chiefs just because of what he and Reed can do. And I do think Jerick McKinnon is a player to watch in that game with, they're going to be focusing on
short passes.
They've done this thing where they've kept him healthy. Like they haven't played him much in the first half of the season. And then once it start gearing up for playoffs, they start getting him in there. But I think the Eagles are able to get to Purdy a little bit, and he's pretty good at extending the play. But I just think the constant pass rush that the Eagles can put out there is too much.
It's going to be a really low-scoring game, I think, in my head. I think it is.
Tucker, who we got?
Yeah, I am right there with Joseph on this one. I like what the Niners can do. I think they're going to come out with a mindset like they've got unfinished business, like from what they did last year. Obviously, they got to this stage, and Jimmy G was not enough to win them the game. Brock Purdy, the stats about him on the road are not great, so that could tip against him. But I like the Niners to win this game just because of all that they have. And, yeah, I can't pick against the Bengals either just because, with the whole Mahomes situation right now, that's not good for them. And I told you guys off air, but I've always liked what Joe Burrow does. He's a very confident player, not overconfident. It's just the right amount, and I think it's going to be enough to get it done in Kansas City.
Little surprising that it's a sweep for the Bengals winning in Arrowhead.
I think the high ankle sprain is what led to that. But one more thing about this Niners-Eagles game. There's one other thing that the Niners have advantage of over the Eagles. That's experience. Not only Kyle Shanahan and that coaching staff, but a lot of the players on that team. George Kittle, Debo. I mean, a lot of the defensive guys, they have experience in playoffs, especially in a Super Bowl. They were just in it in 2019. It was only 4 years ago. I mean, these guys have been there before. They've been in the playoffs every year. The Eagles, they're kind of new kids on the block, even though they're the good new kids on the block, and they've shown to be dominant. They're still, this is their first time since what? Since that Tom Brady year.
Yeah, 2017.
2017, and they're a whole new team. They're different. New coaching staff.
You got some very good experienced players on defense, especially up front. But yeah, definitely more inexperienced than the 49ers. I'm going to take the 49ers, man. I believe in this defense. They are so dominant. And as long as Purdy, if Purdy does not have a turnover, the Niners win. That is the key. So Niners, Bengals seeming like the popular pick here, 3 of 4. Let's do it. I'm rooting for the Niners anyway. I'm not a big Nick Sirianni guy. So
yeah,
not the way. You see him call out the media, the Philly media too. Just disgusting. Anyway. But let's move on. We're going to take our second break of the hour. And when we come back, we're going to talk some Lady Vols. They got a big matchup coming up here in a couple of days on Rocky Top. Stay tuned here on Rock Solid Sports.
The Rock thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting a Monday Night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans offers lunch daily and is the pre- and post-game on-campus location for UT and Lady Vols basketball, Ice Bears hockey, as well as sports on our big screens. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page for more info.
The Rock receives support from The Hill, Fort Sanders' destination for wings, beer, and sports, including college basketball on the big screen and a pre- and post-game hang for Lady Vols and Vols basketball. The Hill is the home of Rock Solid Sports Friday broadcast from 6 to 7 p.m. Located on Forest Avenue, just blocks from the UT campus, The Hill is open 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. every day and has a large covered patio. TheHillKnox.com.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
90.3 The Rock proudly brings Knoxville the best in new and classic, independent, and underground music on the Indie Owl. Monday nights from 8 to 10, hosted by former award-winning alumni from the WUTK Music Department and sponsored by Magnolia Records, 1515 North Central Avenue in Knoxville, and the Tomato Head Restaurant on Market Square and in the Gallery Shopping Center, spinning cutting-edge music from around the world that pushes musical boundaries like noise pop, math rock, slowcore, shoegaze, garage rock, chamber pop, chill wave, and more. The Indie Owl brings you hard-to-find music from the artists that make it to the listeners who love it. The Indie Owl also provides independent artist news and chances to win Tomato Head and Magnolia Records gift cards. Tune in to Knoxville's true independent radio. The Indie Owl, Monday nights at 8, only on 90.3 The Rock, always bringing Knoxville new music first.
All right, everybody. Welcome back into Rock Solid Sports here on Monday night on 90.3 The Rock. We got a couple more minutes with you guys talking some Lady Vols. They got a big home matchup coming up on Thursday night. As I mentioned earlier in the hour, ESPN's College Game Day Women's Hoops Edition will be on campus as they host the 5th-ranked UConn Huskies. And, of course, this storied rivalry, lot going on here. UConn got the win last year up north, but now Tennessee gets a chance to host this game. Tennessee 8-0 in SEC play after a really, really subpar start to the season. They have turned this thing around, led by Rickea Jackson and Jordan Horston and their cast. Sarah Puckett, too, man. She's been balling out. So Tennessee Lady Vols have really turned their season around. Now they have a chance to make a big statement win on Thursday night, guys. What do we think is going to happen here? And can Tennessee keep the momentum going?
I'm going to be honest with you, Jack. They're 8-0 in SEC play.
Right.
Very difficult to do to start off perfect. But the SEC teams they've played have not been the top tier of the SEC.
But they are getting some pretty big wins. I mean, they beat Georgia by double digits, Florida by double digits, A&M by double digits.
True, but this is UConn.
A lot of big wins.
This is UConn.
I know
we're
it's
talking
UConn.
about.
No.
And look, I get there's a lot of history right here, but just the way the Lady Vols, I mean, yeah, they've been on a heater lately, but like I said, they haven't played any real competition in these SEC games. And when they did play real competition earlier this season,
didn't go well.
It did not go well for the Lady Vols.
I think they've changed a lot, though.
I think they'll keep this game close. I
Yeah.
will say that, but I'm picking UConn.
I'll pick UConn too in a close one, as you said. And the stat is 6 of 8 of their SEC wins have come by double digits. So that's impressive. And the latest one, a close win over Mizzou, coming back late there. Gabriel and Tucker, who we got Thursday night?
I'm going to roll for Lady Vols. I think this game is going to tell us a lot about if this team is different from where they were earlier in the year and if this momentum they've garnered can keep them going.
I like it. And if they're going to win, it's going to be because they'll have the best player on the court, and that's Rakia Jackson. Tucker, who we got?
Yeah, I'm feeling UConn here as well. I'm too much of a realist, I guess. But, Tennessee's just not seeing a whole lot of ranked competition at this part of the season. So I got UConn. But, this rivalry is everything, not just for women's college basketball, but women's basketball in general. I mean, what is women's basketball today if it is not for these two programs and the work that Gino Ariema and Pat Summitt have done? So huge game in TBA here in a couple of days. Can't wait to watch it.
It's going to be fun. I'll be in the building. Tucker will be in the building. We're going to have some fun Thursday night. Lady Vols versus UConn, trying to get the upset. Thank you guys for tuning in here on the Monday night edition of Rock Solid Sports. For Joseph next to me, Gabriel across the glass, and Tucker at a very generous sponsor, Cool Beans. I'm Jack Foster, and this has been Rock Solid Sports. We'll see you guys Wednesday.